Hello there, my friends. Matt Leja here with Maple Grove Productions. We're back at it, working on the cabin here, trying to clean the pans today. There's always another job. There's always many jobs to do around here, and this is the one that I've decided to tackle today. We got the pans on there. I'm going to show you this here in a second, but hopefully you can get an idea. We're going to try some vinegar. We went and picked up a bunch of this just regular white vinegar, 5% acetic acid, and we're going to try and clean our pans with that. I want to try and do as much of an organic, natural approach as possible without using chemicals, without using harsh abrasive cleaners that are just going to damage our pans in the end. I saw all kinds of things online on how to clean these pans and get them shiny and stuff, but I don't know if it's worth coming at the cost of using, cold oven cleaner and a couple other things I saw, muriatic acid. Yeah, probably not a good idea. As good as they would work, I'm just not comfortable with it possibly leaving a residue behind that'll show up in the taste of our syrup anyway. Would probably be pretty minimal at that point, I would think, the trace amounts, but it would be enough, I think, to give it a foul taste, and that's what we want to avoid. We want our syrup obviously to be as pure as possible. The other thing too I mentioned last time is that one of our pans here is leaking in one of the corners, so I'm going to have to take up welding. I've actually got a welder in the garage that my grandfather left for us, but I have no idea how to use it, so it's new skills, new things you got to learn how to do and do things for yourself. You can't always rely on other people or pay somebody to do it for you. You gotta just figure it out. The chimney, bring you up to speed on that. It's looking better, but it's starting to chip away again, so we're just spraying it as it chips off with some regular black spray paint, minimal, just cosmetic things at this point. It's not going to stop us from making fires in here or getting started with the process. But as far as the season goes, we've had a couple of days now where it's been above zero. Today is I believe the 16th of February, so we're getting close. If it goes on like for another 2 or 3 days, I would say, plus degree weather, then I'll probably get started, start tapping the trees. Could very well freeze over again, but that doesn't mean it won't pick up again after it warms up. So nothing wrong with having your trees tapped a little early if you don't mind venturing out there and going through the snow. The snow is high, and yeah, it's kind of hard to walk in this right now. I've broken at least 3 or 4 shovels this season alone, so I ended up breaking 2 plastic shovels today, so I've switched to metal, which I should have done in the first place, really. But as far as our pan cleaning here, they're pretty grimy. We tried to clean them up as much as possible last season, but couldn't quite get them as clean as I would have liked. There's still some stain going on here. But this one here, without having to do another take, in the spirit of vlogs, I guess, this pan, if you can see, has got some discoloration at the bottom there. So that's actually got a residue on it. We tried to clean this pan. We should have experimented with one of our burnt pans, which is a tip for those of you out there that happen to have a burnt pan lying around. Use that one to experiment on. Don't use your good pans. Lesson learned for me. Tried some citric acid because it works great in our distilling machine, our countertop distiller, and we figured maybe it'll clean up this metal too, which it did. But what happened was it got real nice at the bottom, but we let it cool down. We let it sit for too long without dumping it, and that residue stuck to the bottom. And now if I run my finger on it real hard, there is a substance, some kind of residue that's left behind. I don't know if it ate away the top layer of it or what's going on, but we're going to have to be very careful here. I'm hoping that the vinegar is enough to clean it off, so that's what I'm going to do. I've already put my jug of vinegar in this one. I'm going to add another one to these, possibly a second one, but I plan to do this whole process a second time, so I'm going to save the rest. We have 6 jugs, so it's going to be two each. I'm hoping by using one this time around it's not going to be too diluted, but as you can see, I'm winging it. I'm experimenting with a lot of things here and trying not to have it come at the cost of the quality of our syrup. That's number one, is preserving that purity in our product. So also went to the dollar store and picked up some of these guys. This is just your basic scrubber cleanse plastic handle dish mop. That's what my grandparents always used to clean up the pans here, so that is exactly what I'm going to do. I wanted to get some ones with wooden ends rather than these plastic ones, but that's all they had. And also I've seen people using these poly brushes to really get some of that grime on the bottom. They're not too abrasive, I don't think, that it'll scratch the pans or anything, but definitely going to use this to try and get some of that residue off there, especially on the first pan. But I got to get vinegar in these here before it starts to boil. I'm probably going to keep a good solid boil for at least an hour, I would say. Let it cool down a bit and then dump it. These I'm definitely going to save to add water to make it easier to have accessible water here in the cabin. Eventually I would love to run a hose. I'm going to need one for the hoopla mounds anyway. So eventually I would love to have a hose coming all the way back here and use that to do the cleaning. Not have to bring jugs out every time. So eventually the end goal would be to have a water catch system here to grab that water that's coming off the tin roof and have it feed into a reservoir here of some kind and use that, maybe even with a pump. All things to do, all projects for the future. At first I thought this was rust, but this is not rust. This is actually some leftover from the actual syrup that's just baked right on there. So that's what we'll be trying to take off with the vinegar here. As soon as it starts to boil, I'm going to scrub it real good. I'm hoping that the steam gets up on this stuff here. This was actually over here last season, and that's why it got this discoloration to it. It was just overheating, and it did get extremely hot. I was measuring this with my digital thermometer, and it was very hot back here. This pan always gets way hotter than this one or that one. You can see the grime here, whatever you want to call that. I think it might be the sugars that are left behind on the pan, but you can see how there is a clean spot here, but it's all caked on there, and I'm hoping that the vinegar will break it up. My grandparents also used to add a small amount of bleach, I think like a capful for each pan, which is really not a lot, but it might help to get some of that grime off of there. One thing I need to address here is this issue of not being able to open the flaps for proper ventilation. As you can see, it's starting to get pretty steamy up there, and I want this place to vent properly, so the snow is actually preventing the flaps from opening up the bottom here, so I'm gonna have to get up on the ladder and scrape that away so that I can open these up a little bit more. Eventually I'd like to redesign this whole flap system and have it on some kind of a, well, it is on a pulley now. You can see the pulleys there, way up there attached to the beam, but I'd like to get it on a better system where I don't have to fiddle around with these elastic bands, these rubber bands here, and the wires are always in the way. So projects for the future, but for now, for this season, it'll do. And as I said last time, we're not going to bother painting or fixing this stove up this season. We'll do that next season. I was able to completely seal the outside here and add a new chimney, so that'll be good for this season. But next season, definitely probably going to come along with a pressure washer and get all this stuff off of there as well, off the bottom, just for max heat distribution, I guess, and it'll look better. Be nice to get these shining again, really fix them up. But once we get a good system going, you know, that's when things repeat, and you can count on that process to work for you year to year. Right now there's still a high level of learning going on. I guess the learning will never stop, but the adapting, I guess you could say, process is still very much in full swing. I'm hoping by next season we'll have a few things figured out, and we'll have some more refined methodologies for this whole process. And for anybody who may have seen the older videos that I posted on the channel recently, back as far as 1986 to 1989, I noticed that my grandfather always put his wood this way. So last time I had talked about fire design and how you build it, whether you use a TP or if you use like my bridge method here where you put logs on either side and then kind of put it across. I'm trying a different approach now, similar to what my grandfather would do, and once his fire is going, he continues to put his logs this way, I guess for better heat distribution on the pans. And I guess his theory on that was that it would create more consistent heat. Got my sled too that I'm working on, trying to redesign the bottom of it. These wooden skis are not really doing the job, so I'm actually adding some real skis. I think I touched on this in one of the previous vlogs, but I'm just going to attach some regular skis, cut them off at the back with the table saw and attach those. It should slide a lot better. I'd love to make this thing longer, but the longer it gets, the more it's not as easily maneuverable in the paths, especially when there's snow. Maybe I'm thinking some type of a train design where it's 2 compartments that can bend and flex between them. I don't know. But for this year, I just need to fix this thing up and add some skis to it. So that's pretty much it for today, my friends. Not a whole lot to report, but you can see that we're getting ready for it. It's getting very vinegary in here. It smells like a chip truck or something. But hopefully the steam as well with the vinegar in it will help to sterilize everything. That's pretty much what we got going on. I hope your homesteading is going well, your farming, your preparations. If you're in an area where you're able to still grow, then happy growing to you. I'll be doing another vlog here in a day or two, and I'll post that on the channel. Until then, take care, my friends, be well, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.